Well, thank you, everybody, and welcome to Transformational Tuesdays. I'm Teresa Velardi, your host for this time of inspiration, education, motivation, and conversation focused on key ingredients necessary to create positive change in our lives, which I call transformation. And for those of you who don't know me, I started Transformational Tuesdays as a way to give back some of what I've learned on my own transformational journey, which basically started with a look at myself in the mirror. And the question that I ask myself, which is very relative to this conversation, is who are you and why are you here? Basically, I've been asking myself that question. I asked myself that question in determining really the question that's on the table today. What's your story? So last week when we got together, we talked about what's your story from a few standpoints. What I invited everyone to do was to write their story. And the questions that I had on the table were, are you living your story over and over again and just playing it over in your mind, wondering how you're going to get off this merry-go-round? And that's where I was before I decided that it was time to make a change in my life. It was time to really look at who I was, what I had to offer the world, and what exactly was my purpose. And I think finding our purpose is a journey that we take that leads us to a bunch of different things along the way and shows up at just the right time, because I believe that everything happens in divine timing. So whether you know what your purpose is or not really doesn't make a difference at this point. It will reveal itself somewhere along the line on your transformational journey. But maybe you've realized that there was a lesson in your life somewhere along the line. Like, I know that when I looked in the mirror, I was learning a tremendous amount of lessons in my life. I learned that I had made a decision that was not one of the best for me. Anybody done that ever in their life? Yeah. And I just decided that it was time to make a change and honor who I am and who I was at that point, because I had gotten lost. And so that's part of my story. But I realized that there is, having come through many circumstances along the way, as we all have, I discovered that part of my story is this. Part of where I want to be is this: helping you to seek out who you are, what your story is, and more importantly, what you want your story to be right now. You know, the past, I was looking for quotes, and I ran across our good friend Shakespeare, and he says, the past is prologue, just like in Star Wars. The first three were the prologue, and then there was the next three, which was actually, how did it work? The next three were the prologue to the first three. I don't know. I'm Star Wars nut, but I just don't know which belongs where. But I just know that there was a beginning somewhere. There was a beginning, and that's the prologue to where we are today. So, and then where do you want to go from there? So this last week in the first part of the series, we asked questions like, when determining how to discover your story, we ask the questions like the two that I just asked you: who am I? Why am I here? What are my gifts and talents? What talents do I have? What have I been given when I came here? And what am I supposed to do with these talents? And I talked about the fact that one of the things that I do besides writing, which is a daily part of my life, is I am a potter. And I came with that gift in my hands. As a matter of fact, the first thing I made in a high school classroom, the teacher says to me, "You've done this before." And I was like, "Not in this lifetime, but okay." So it was just something that I came here with. Like, I have a beautiful gift in my hands. And so what was I supposed to use that for? Is it just to beautify the planet by leaving nice pieces of pottery on the earth, or beautifying other people's homes? There is a message in making pottery. It is a beautiful illustration for transformation. It takes every piece of clay, from a ball of clay to a beautiful work of art, and each one of them is unique. So what are your unique gifts and talents, and how do you think you are here to use them? Then I asked a couple of other questions. What's still left to be done? What do you know that is before you? That's part of your upcoming story. And what can you do differently than you're doing now. If you're in a place where you're like, oh, I don't want to be doing what I'm doing. That was me. I was an insurance agent for many years. I didn't want to be an insurance agent. It was very dry, although I had great conversations with many, many people along the way, and I was able to help people during their lifetime to make sure during my lifetime as an insurance agent, make sure that they had what they needed to protect their assets, to protect their family, and so forth and so on. And it served a purpose in my life, but it wasn't who I was. It's not who I am. So when I moved to Pennsylvania, as part of my transformation, I decided that I was letting go of being an insurance agent, stepping into more of being an artist with the pottery. And then it was put on my heart to share my gift of writing. So, and that's something that I do on a regular basis. Every morning I start my day off with journaling, and I start my day off in gratitude, which is going to be a huge part of this conversation. So how many of you keep a gratitude journal? Awesome, awesome, fabulous. And it's one, so if you don't, I'm going to encourage you to do this. And this was part of our conversation last week too. There is something physically that happens to us. Gratitude is not something that you do. Gratitude is something that you feel. And there's something that happens to our bodies and to our hearts when we start putting what we feel in gratitude on paper. So every morning, I get up and I have my little journal. If you get a pretty one, okay? I have my little journal that I write my gratitude in. And I write a letter to God every morning. Good morning, God. I'm grateful for, I'm so happy and grateful for. Use the Bob Proctor thing. Yay, Barbara. Yes. And Bob Proctor has this thing, and my gratitude has evolved over the years. He has a statement about being grateful where things are in the future as well as in the present. And it goes something like this. I'm so happy and grateful now that whatever, I have $100,000 in my bank account. I'm so happy and grateful now that I have my beautiful home and it's free and clear of any mortgage. I am so happy and grateful now that the number on the scale is actually my healthy weight. I'm so happy and grateful now that you fill in the blank. And what this does, it brings the law of attraction, if you will, into the present moment. So if you're having gratitude for what it is that you are anticipating in your future, you are actually activating the law of attraction. So that's an awesome way to do gratitude in the morning. And don't just do it, feel it. One of the key things that you'll hear anybody say who is an expert in the law of attraction or the process of gratitude or anything that we're talking right now, the key ingredient to making this happen is the feeling it. So make sure that along the way, as you do this practice, you feel exactly what you're grateful for. I'm honestly grateful to get up in the morning and see the sun shining. Start small. If it's something that you've not practiced yet, do this. Be honestly and heartfeltly grateful for the sun that shines through your window in the morning, for that cup of coffee that lasts you through the afternoon, for whatever it is, simple things. Start with a simple practice if it's not something that you do. But again, once again, I'm going to encourage you to actually write it out on paper. It engages the body, mind, and spirit in the process, and it makes it more effective and much more able to feel and realize in your system. So that the same thing is true for, and this is getting, I don't want to get off the track with gratitude here, but if you have something that's going on in your life and you can't seem to resolve it, I'm going to ask you to write about it because of the fact that it will pull it from your body onto the paper. And here's a great practice. When I do stuff like that, I don't use my pretty book. I use something else that I can rip the pages out of and tear them up, throw them away, or better yet, rip the pages out of, roll them up in a bowl, put them in a coffee can, make sure it's metal, and light it on fire. There's something very healing about those things that we want to let go of being caught up in the smoke of the fire. fire, you know, as a potter, I can tell you that the process of being in the fire, although it doesn't necessarily feel very good, it's very healing. And there's a lot of growth that comes in the fire, and there's beautification process that happens in the fire as part of the pottery illustration. But it also really does help us to move through those things which are seemingly keeping us stuck. So I encourage you to write things down and you know, put them on paper, and if you have to, burn them. Okay, so the questions: who am I? Why am I here? What gifts and talents do I have? How am I supposed to use those gifts and talents? What is still left to be done? What can I do differently? And what have I done or am I doing that works really well right now? So acknowledge yourself for what's working really well, because I think that as women particularly, we don't necessarily take time to celebrate who we are and the victories that we have. We're always, for me, I'll speak for myself, I'm a taskmaster. I gotta get this done, I gotta get that done, I gotta do this, I gotta do that, and before you know it, I'm sitting in this chair in front of my computer, and it's 11 o'clock at night, and I'm like, where did the day go? I didn't even get a chance to do blah, 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 whatever I really wanted to do for myself. And so I'm going to invite you to acknowledge what's doing right, what's going well, and to celebrate who you are and what you're doing in any given circumstance, because it's in the celebration that the actual, it feeds into the gratitude. It feeds into the gratitude piece, the celebration. You can be more grateful for a situation when you have gotten something good out of it for yourself. So that's really important. I want to share with you something. I think I shared this last week because I put it on my blog. And you can go to transformationaltuesdays.com and click on blog, and you can read this. I created a little meme with it. And you can also go to transformationaltuesdays.com and get any of the replays from any of the Transformational Tuesdays conversations, even back to when I first started in, I think, 2011. They're all there. And we keep the last 6 or 8 video replays on that page, and the rest of them are on the YouTube channel. So I would encourage you to go to transformationaltuesdays.com/replays for that, and for the blog to keep up on what the calls have been about and whatnot. So I woke up one morning, I was invited to write an article for a magazine, and I woke up with one morning with this on my heart, like, what am I going to write about? And always gratitude is the first thing that comes to my mind. And it was, the topic was upgrade. So I said, all right, well, upgrade your attitude, live in gratitude. So, and I encourage each of you to do this. And this is what I got. And if you picture the word gratitude along the side, and you can see it on Facebook, on transformationaltuesdays.com under the blog, it reads this way: gratefulness reveals and releases abundant thoughts to ignite information and ideas that transform our thinking to upgrade and unfold daily life into a divinely rich experience. And that was on my mind when I woke up in the morning. So I'm calling that a gift from God, which is really basically what describes for me what gratitude does. It turns my life into a divinely rich experience. And I'm sure that it will do the same for you. So last week when I talked about story, people are like, well, really, what is a story? What's your story? A story, using that same format, is something that you truthfully tell others and yourself, of course, that reveals and reflects the real you. That's a story. So what's your story? And is the story that you're telling yourself now the one that you want the world to know about you? So whatever the answers to your questions are, I invited everybody who was on the call last week. Who was here last week that I can see? Susan, were you here last week? No, I thought you were. I know Cece was there. There may be some people who are on the phone. By the way, if you're on the phone, I can't open your line unless I know that you want me to open your line. And I have a text number that you can use to text me any answers to these questions so that you can participate, particularly if you're not in front of your computer and you can't see the chat room, the chat box. So write this number down, 570-230-4185. And if you would like to be heard you have an answer to a question or whatever, just text me, and I'll open your line so that we can hear your voice. Okay, so that number again, 570-230-4185. So last week I made a challenge for everyone, and I'm going to challenge you as well to write your story out using those questions and see exactly where you are and see where it is that you want to go. So I know everybody has a story, and it may not, you may be in the middle of yours. You don't know where you're going. You're trying to decide whether or not there is a transformation in the process, something that you are conscious of. But I can tell you that transformation is something that is ongoing. No matter where you are in your life, from one minute to the next, everything changes. That's the only thing that's guaranteed, is that everything changes from this minute to the next and to the next. There is nothing that is the same. So transformation is an ongoing process. And you know, one of my favorite authors these days is Brené Brown. She's written a couple of books, and the one that I am reading right now is called Daring Greatly. And this is really an incredible book about, well, this is what it says on the front cover here. It says, how the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. So really, when you're looking at your story, you're being vulnerable with yourself and other people if you choose to write it. Or if you write it for yourself first, and then if you choose to be a part of an anthology book, or choose to be a part of something that I'm going to put together that I'm going to talk about in a little while, you know, it's about being vulnerable and letting people in. And for a long time, I was so closed off to the world because my life was not anything like I had imagined it to be. And so the last thing that I wanted to do is have a conversation with you as to who I was, because I didn't know, number one, and what was going on behind the doors of my house in my beautiful suburban affluent area home on Long Island. What was happening, what looked like was happening on the front lawn, you know, because everything was so well manicured and everything was perfect, and inside my life was a disaster. Everything was neat and tidy. Everything was beautifully clean, but inside I was dying and my life was a disaster. So, you know, the process of writing my story really helped to unlock who I was. And I'm going to tell you that I can vouch for the fact that anyone who I have ever encouraged to write their story, no matter where you are, has really come away with a grateful heart, because there's healing in what happens through the process. So what I want to make this interactive. So how many of you have actually written out, or we have a daily gratitude practice? Let's see those hands again. Okay. And so you actually write down what you're grateful for every day. How many of you have been journalers along the line somewhere, written down things that you do? Okay, great, awesome. And what has been the process? What have you experienced? I've got to make sure that I open this chat box here so people can say journaling. Yes, Wanda. Yes. And so how many of you have discovered that it's very helpful to write things down on paper? Yeah. There's something that happens. It gets it out of your body. And the thing is that, yes, you can do it on the computer, but I know for a fact, because I've heard him say this many times before, and God rest his heart, Wayne Dyer wrote every single one of his books longhand. He got up in the morning and he sat at a window with at his desk, and he just let whatever he was inspired to write flow through his body. And every single one of his books is life-changing and transformative. So I invite you to, and you know what, here's the thing too that I discovered, and using him as an example, the message that we get to share, and I believe that we are vehicles for information from a higher source if we allow ourselves to be that. I think that the information that he got throughout his life actually unfolded and upgraded to a higher level, and is evidenced in every single one of the books that came through him through this process. And he sat every morning, got up every morning, and the first thing he did, if you've seen the movie, who's seen the movie The Shift? Wayne Dyer's movie The Shift. If you haven't seen that movie, I am going to encourage you, go on YouTube. It's free. It'll take you about 2 hours to watch it, but it's transformative. I've watched it several times, and recently it's been brought back into my mind by somebody else, and I watched it again, and it is life-changing to watch this. And the first thing that he did every morning before he put his feet on the floor was say thank you 3 times. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, there could be nothing attached to that, or could be everything attached to it, or something specific attached to it. But that, and then he got up out of the bed and he did his daily writing practice, which I'm sure included writing down what he was grateful for. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And I talk about Brené Brown, and this being my favorite. She's one of my favorite authors now. But the first book that she wrote was The Gift of Imperfection. So I want to just, she has 10 guideposts, and you can find these online. I'm probably going to put them in the blog because they're so relative to this process of your story that I'm going to ask you to write out, and really, not for me, for yourself, right? Do it for yourself. Do it for your own knowledge, for your own experience, for your own transformation, for your own insight into who you are, and to all the questions that I asked you, and I'll repost those questions again as well. They're on the Transformational Tuesdays Facebook page. If you haven't already done so, go there and like that. And they're there. They're on my personal page. You may have to scroll down to get them, but they're there, and I'll put them out there again. So in The Gift of Imperfection, Brené says there are 10 guideposts for wholehearted living that point to what wholehearted work to cultivate, and what they work to let go of. So part of the process of our story is letting go of who we were and what wasn't working, and embracing who we are and what is, as well as allowing who we are to become and what will be. So it's all contained in there. So here are the things that she talks about. Cultivating authenticity, letting go of what people think. What other people think about us is none of our business. It's not. We get so attached to other people's story of who we are, it is really none of our business, and it impedes our growth as individuals. Number 2, cultivating self-compassion, letting go of perfectionism. Okay, remember I said earlier, I'm sitting at my desk until Lord knows what time of the day, because I got to get it all right and I got to get it all done. That's something that I work on a daily basis. I have to let go of making sure that it's all done perfectly, because really, why? It's like we just keep ourselves from the next good experience and the next right move. So number 3, cultivating a resilient spirit, letting go of numbness and powerlessness. How many of you have ever experienced that? I have. Cultivating gratitude and joy, which is the main focus of our conversation today. Letting go of scarcity and fear of the dark. You know, Marianne Williamson, I have to get this here. I love Marianne Williamson, and she's one of my goals to have on Transformational Tuesdays, and I'm only one person away from making that happen. I'm so excited. So Marianne Williamson, in her book, A Return to Love, says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be so brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So does that shed some new light onto a situation that you thought differently of a few minutes ago? It did for me. And that's something that I read this when I was like in a place of despair that I can't even describe to you. And this helped me to really move from that place so that I could allow myself to open up and become the person that I am. If you were to ask me to do what I'm doing right now, 15 years ago, are you kidding? Not a chance. Not a chance. It's just, we grow. We are individuals. We prepare for growth. It's a natural process. And in the process of letting go, like Renee is talking about in these 10 wholehearted, 10 guideposts for wholehearted living, it's like letting go of things that aren't working is something that we have a difficult time with. For whatever reason, we feel like we're married to these things. And we're not. We're not married to anything, actually. You may be married to somebody else, but really, if you lose your individuality in that marriage, it's not good for you. And I'm here to tell you that that's the truth. I lost who I was, and I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination, I'm not making any suggestions that anybody should make any changes in their life as a marriage partner. I'm not making any suggestions like that. Let me put that full disclosure out there. I'm just saying, if somebody is keeping you from being who you truly are authentically, and gratefully and with joy, look at that picture. So on to number 5, cultivating intuition and trusting faith, letting go of the need for certainty, cultivating creativity, letting go of comparison. I love what Jan Levan says about comparison. I'm going off the top of my head here, so I don't have the exact quote, but she says that comparison is an assault on you personally. It's a personal assault on yourself. And I'll find the quote and I'll put it in the blog. But it's really like comparing yourself to anyone else. Every single one of us is perfect with our own gifts and our own talents and our own ways that we can deliver them. You have a message to deliver to the world that may be similar to mine, but nobody's going to deliver it like you will. You are each individual. You each have your own light to shine, just like Marianne just said in that thing that I just read from A Return to Love. Cultivate play and rest, letting go of exhaustion and status symbol and productivity as self-worth. Okay, I'm raising my hand. Who else is with me? Okay. Yeah. So it's like, I get this thing that I value myself on what I can put out to the world. Like how many different things can I offer to people on ways that they can transform themselves. And not that it's just, I don't even know what to say about that, because it's a place where I struggle, with the self-worth. And I've actually been talking to somebody about that, and it plays into every area of my life: physically, emotionally, relationally, financially, spiritually. Those 5 areas are where I look and that's my checklist. Okay, how is this showing up in my life? In spirit? How is it showing up in my life physically? How is it showing up in my life emotionally and in relationship to other people? And where is it in terms of my finances? How am I managing this? Whatever it is that I feel like I have to continually do and be productive in order to be able to feel worthy of whatever it is that I have or don't have. It's that kind of stuff just blocks the universe and God from giving you all the things that are yours. Go to my Facebook page and look at the Steve Harvey thing that I posted there day before yesterday. He tells this story that Joel Osteen told about some guy going to heaven and finding all the gifts that were meant for him in this lifetime in a storage room in heaven. So I'm not going to give away everything, just you go and look at it. It's a really great thing. So all right, number 8, cultivating calm and stillness, letting go of anxiety as a lifestyle. Now, this is something that I've come to master in the mornings. That's my time. That's like my morning time is when I get centered, I get focused. I get with God. I do my journaling. I do my gratitude. I'll read some scripture. Everybody has their own thing, but it helps to let go of the anxiety of the day. Before I look at what I'm going to do, how am I going to be? And I can promise you that on the days that I don't do that, there's a difference. There's a difference in my attitude. I mean, I noticed it the other day. My son went on a trip to Puerto Rico. He's there right now. And something that he did really ticked me off. And normally I would just like let it roll off my back, have a different kind of conversation. But I was a freaking screaming Mimi. I was like, where did that come from? I haven't been in that space in a long time. And then I go back to my day and like, okay, did I start my morning the way I usually start my morning? It was a busy day. No, I didn't start my morning. I let something else take priority over me and my time with the divine. And it just set me off into a place where I don't realize it until it explodes into something like that. Go figure. All right. So, and then number 9 is cultivating meaningful work, letting go of self-doubt and supposed to. I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that, ties into the self-worth again too, and cultivating laughter, song, and dance, letting go of being cool and always in control. Okay, so back in the 70s, I will admit, back in the 70s, I was a disco queen. I was out dancing all the time. I had a regular dance partner who is still in my life, lives in Florida, great person, awesome relationship. We were the best of friends. And I live vicariously through Dancing with the Stars. Huge admission there. So all I can say is that allow yourself to let go. I tend to, I sing. I love to sing. One of the things that I decided to do for myself when I moved to Pennsylvania, mostly because nobody knew me and they had no idea whether or not I could do some of the things that I do, I decided to take voice lessons. And I went and I did karaoke every chance I could get so that I could practice. When I went back to my voice lesson the next week, I was better than I was before I got there. And I had a blast. Yeah, I had a blast. It was awesome. So sing, dance, do something that is, that calls to you and cultivates laughter. And I get giddy. You can see it. I get giddy just thinking about some of these things that I've done in my life and that I am bringing back into my life. But I want to open the conversation for questions, comments. It's at the half-hour mark now. We're just a little bit past the half-hour mark. And then I want to offer you an opportunity to tell part of your story in gratitude with a bunch of people who I am gathering for a daily book, a daily reader. It's called A Daily Gift of Gratitude. And if you're on the phones and you have a question or a comment, just text me at 570-230-4185. I'll open your line. And if you can see me, just raise your hand and I will open your line so that you can speak as well, you can share. So I'm hoping that you will take this time to be interactive. And let's talk about what you've heard so far and whether or not this is helping you in possibility of sharing your story, whether you do it for yourself or for other people in the world. Anyone? Barb Yeager. Wait, hang on. Let me unmute you. Hello, Barbara.
Hello, my dear Teresa. It's so good to see you.
So good to see you too.
Hello from California. It's early here. I have my early morning voice.
That's cool. I love it. And that's one of the reasons why I made it Transformational Tuesdays at noon, so the West Coast could be in. And I know I have a couple of people who are actually in London who might be part of this conversation today. So, yeah. So welcome, Barbara. Good to see you. Morning voice and all. Good to see you.
Gratitude for me is a sort of like a drawbridge to a castle. That's the way I think about it. So we want to, move away from all of our mind and ego issues, which is really a lot about what you were talking about today in all those guideposts that you gave us. Because when we live really in mind and ego, we don't get the benefit of understanding life through spirit. And of course, that's where we get our most joy and create the most miracles in our lives, is when we understand how to connect to all that is and the divinity that we have, you know. So the gratitude is a really wonderful way to leave mind and ego behind and move into spirit. And it really helps to bring those higher energies to get you connected. And that's a really great way to get started.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been on a journey, you know my journey, and it's been a long road, but I feel so much better today knowing where I'm going and what I'm doing and how I'm going to do it. And you know, we're here to experience ourselves. So it is always about moving forward. It's always about having a new experience within who we are as our own divine people. And that's why nothing ever stays the same. And that's why we're always constantly changing and moving forward, is because we're searching for ways to continue to experience ourselves in this life.
Exactly. And you've done a lot of that. You've done a lot of change. If you want to share, you've had a really interesting journey along the way. And now really, I'm going to say, come into your own with what you're doing now, like really honoring who you are, the gifts that you have, and what you bring to the world. You want to share some of that?
Sure. One thing that I know about myself is I've always been a person who lights other people's lights. Whether it's this life or other lives, I've been told by other people that I've always been sort of a coach or a counselor. And, you know, in all of my journeys in this life, they've always had something to do with telling people what to do. When I was a corporate attorney for 30 years in banking, I was always telling people what to do. You know, that was just a natural part of it. But in a way with a spirit and love, not I wouldn't call myself like a regular lawyer. It wasn't aggressive or mean. But after I knew that career wasn't for me anymore, I had to figure out how I was going to transform myself into doing higher work and work that was more in keeping with what I knew I was here to do in this life. And so that's when I started my Akashic record work. And now, gratefully and full of gratitude every day, I help people to see the best in themselves by showing them who they really are at soul level and how to get past any blocks and restrictions that hold them back. Yeah. And every coaching session makes me so grateful for the work that I do now.
Yeah.
And it's eye-opening and inspiring, and I just feel so happy that that's where I am now. You know, and it took about 2 years for me to get there, and there were a lot of dark times, but you know what? I kept pushing and pushing. I knew I'd find it. I knew I'd get there. And I just never gave up, and I just followed my star. And finally it just hung in the sky, and I was like, yeah, there I go. That's who I am.
Yep. Indeed.
And it's still unfolding. I'm never going to stop teaching, and I'm never going to stop coaching. So it's just going to take different faces and different topics, but it's what and who I really am.
Yeah. And that's awesome. So coming from a corporate attorney in banking and now reading people's Akashic records and helping them get unstuck from where they might be. It's
a big step in spirit. It really was. I really stepped up into my true spiritual self. So that's where it feels great. That's where I'm staying. And as I wrote in my blog last week, I broke up with the third dimension. So I broke up with the third dimension and the fourth dimension, and I went to the fifth dimension. So.
Yeah. So, and so if you're interested in having knowing some of what Barb does, because I had her she read my Akashic records, and one of the things that I do is build community, and that's part of who I am, and so that's why it's like I had a conversation this morning with.
And perfectionism is actually who you are too, Teresa.
Yeah, I know. So I honor that part of myself. I do the best to honor that part of myself.
You do honor your soul group tremendously.
Yeah. So, and I had a conversation with Dr. C. Denise Richardson, who's going to be joining us in the beginning of September again. And she said to me, "Oh, you're such a connector." And I went recently, and I had the the strengths. I took that strengths test.
Yes.
And guess what was on the top? Guess what was the first thing? Connectedness.
Yes.
Connectedness. And
And
I take that.
I want to tell you that I am an advocate of Strength Finders.
Yeah.
And Strength Finders is a wonderful fourth dimension kind of modality, but the overlay is truly in energy center soul group focus.
Yeah.
And when I went back and looked at the qualities of each one, right on.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Somebody with great spirit wrote that.
Yeah. So that's something that you can do online too. I mean, you can just look it up, Strength Finders, and there's a book of the same name, and that can give you more information. And Barbara, tell me if I'm wrong with this statement. I can almost guarantee you that whatever you find in that test, Strength Finders test, you will reveal itself in your Akashic records and will show up in your life's purpose, tie itself into the gifts and talents that you came to this earth with.
Yes, without a doubt. Yeah. It's a wonderful way to get started in knowing yourself and doing your work.
Yeah. Exactly.
And if anybody's confused, Strength Finders is a great way to get started. If they're not ready for Akashic work yet, that's fine, but they should be looking at Strength Finders.
Yeah. Awesome. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you for Akashic work, how can they do that, Barbara?
It's just Barbara Yeager, YAGER.com.
Okay, awesome.
All my stuff is there.
Thanks, Barb. Always happy to have you. Thanks so much.
Bye.
We'll meet you again. Yeah. So anyone else have anything that they want to share? I love everything that Barbara just said, and, honoring yourself and being grateful. And I do want to, I just texted Judy, and I'm hoping that she's going to say yes, but my good friend Judy, she just went on a missions trip to Karagoto, Kenya, and came back so changed. And she's been on her journey of transformation, and I don't want to take anything away from her or bring anything that she doesn't want me to, but I can tell you that when you do something and you take yourself out of your daily life, this is what I learned from her, and I want to honor her at this point and know that if she wants to speak up, she'll come to the table. But here's the thing. What I discovered from throughout my life, and what became really evident to me in my conversation with Judy when she came back from Kenya, and we went out to lunch last Monday, and she started talking to me. When you take yourself out of your day-to-day life and all that you have and all who you are and what you do on a daily basis, and you move yourself into a situation where people have nothing, literally nothing, and you go there and you stay there for a period of time, which she did for, I think it was 10 days, the trip was, and would travel on either end of it. So maybe it was 8 days. And you're in homes of people who literally have nothing, are sleeping on dirt floors. And you come back to your life. You can't help but come back with an incredible sense of gratitude and knowing that that you're to do something bigger in this world. No matter how small it may look to you, living where you live, or doing what you do, or having what you have, no matter how small it may look, it's huge. It's huge. If you ever want to feel like you're rich, look at what people who living in Kenya or in Haiti, who have lost things to tsunamis and whatnot. And you want to build a gratitude muscle, look at other people who don't have and look at what you do. So you have within you a gift of gratitude, and I want to invite you to share that with the world. And I'm creating now. It's been on my heart for a long time to write a daily devotional. And it's part of my morning practice to use some daily devotionals that are part of my library of stuff. Where are they here? And I have one that I use every morning. It's by Joyce Meyer, and it's a day-by-day book. It's called Trusting God. And I open this every morning, and it gives me, it takes I'm a student of the Bible, in case you don't know. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be biblical. It just is something that has me thinking for the day. And ultimately, whatever I read on those pages, no matter what page I open to, if it's the page of the day or if it's another page, or even if I open a book that I'm working on, that I'm reading or working on, like Brene Brown and Daring Greatly. Something speaks to me. And what I want to do is I want to create a book that it's going to give that to other people. But I don't want to do it all by myself. I want you to help me. I want you to share your story of gratitude with the world. And if you don't know, I have a publishing company. I call it Authentic Endeavors. And one of the things that I do is I help people get story told. How many of you during your life, somewhere along the line, said, your story doesn't matter? Somebody told you that? Like, you don't matter, or your story doesn't matter, or it doesn't make a difference. You don't make a difference. Your story doesn't matter. I'm here to tell you your story matters, and it matters now. So I have a website. It's called YourStoryMattersNow.com. And the invitation is there for you to be part of this gratitude book. It's called A Daily Gift of Gratitude. And I would love it if you would step up and share something about gratitude that would not only share your heart, but also open the possibility of opening up somebody else's heart to the principle of gratitude. So that's there for you to look at. There is an early bird special there. I'm not going to get into the numbers. You can go and look at it if it's something that speaks to you. The website is YourStoryMattersNow.com, and go there and have a look. We're going to have, there's going to be story coaching available to you. The stories are going to be edited. They'll be put in a book. We haven't decided, I'm playing around with the cover, so we haven't decided the cover yet. So that'll be revealed down the line. But there's all different things that are available to you. You can do 1 story, 2 story, 3 stories. If you would like to, there are going to be about 250 words a piece. You'll get the opportunity to put your bio and your website in there, a little bit about who you are, 50 words for each person who contributes. And I'm hoping that it is my intention to launch this book in the spring of 2017. And since we're talking about transformation and renewal, spring is the time of renewal. Spring is the time of, I don't know about you, but when I start seeing those little flowers pop up out of the ground, my sense of gratitude just blossoms with those flowers, because I live in the Northeast, and sometimes our winters are, well, I'm not even going to tell you what the winters are like. They're just not fun. Last year was very mild in comparison to what they have been, and I'm praying that it's going to be the same way this year. But bottom line is that there's going to be an opportunity for you to share on gratitude. Karen Mayfield, I see you're on the call, and I'm going to open up this line for you, if you wouldn't mind, because we have this conversation about gratitude all the time. I know I'm putting you on the spot. Hello, Miss Karen.
Hi, what's happening?
I am so excited to see that you joined us. I opened up the thing to allow people to. I want to see who else is here, but anyhow, topic of gratitude.
I was just about to send you a text that said hashtag all stories matter.
All stories matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, it does, and of course, me, I'm thinking you got to add new meaning to old memory, because some of it really doesn't fit with what's going on. But, you don't know to change it if you don't know it exists.
Right. And that's why it's so important to write your story out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's so important to write your story.
Really, it's amazing. When I wrote mine out, it was, I was 47 years old, and I'm almost 62, so it's happened many years ago. Anyway, it was amazing because of the things that I have become aware of just by finding things out, that I saw that a lot of the stuff that I was holding on to was actually holding me back. And because it was not true. I was holding on to something that was not true. In fact, I was holding on to something that absolutely had nothing to do with me. I was just affected by it because of, you know, this person doing what they do. And so, or doing what they did. It was about my biological father and why he left. So anyway, that little theme, that little story, you know, I mean, because you tell yourself you tell yourself a story, you know, and it's like somebody will say, now don't tell me a story here. It's like, get me straight. Don't give me no story.
Yeah, like how big was the fish you caught the other day, Karen?
Yeah. 12 feet.
Yeah. So
I mean, that's it, because it's the same theory, because in so many respects, we tell ourselves a story and it's a big fat story. You know, there's nothing, but it becomes our reality. So,
exactly. So I'm so glad you said that, Karen, because this thing about what's your story is, your story starts out in one place, and it's like a roller coaster. I love the analogy of a roller coaster. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, sometimes you're on the ride with your hands in the air, other times you're closing your eyes. You've got all these different parts of life that come alive that is somewhat like a roller coaster. And, you know, it's constantly changing and you're constantly growing. And I can guarantee you, especially if it's the first time you've ever ridden a roller coaster, you get on a roller coaster, you're not the same person when you come off the end of the ride.
No. You'll never, lasting impression. The thing about, think about this, your story evolved. When you were a month old, do you look at all like you did? Do you look at all today like you did when you were a month old? No, because you grew and you knew and you learned. And that's the same thing with our story. Our story grows right along with us. But that story that's growing, where is it going? So you figure that out when you put it in check. That's when you write it out. You got to get it out of your head.
Exactly. And get it out. Yeah. Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much. And that's what we talked about a little bit earlier. Get it out of your head. Let it flow through your body. Put it onto the paper. And yes, you can write your story on using the computer. I encourage you, though, before you put it into the computer, write it on paper. There is something that happens, and an integration of body, mind, and spirit that happens when you put the story out on a piece of paper. So thanks so much, Karen. Appreciate you. And so what I'm inviting you to do is not only write out your story in its entirety, but take a piece of that story, find something that you have great gratitude for in the process, and let's hear from you as one of the authors in this new book that's going to come out in the spring that we're going to put together as a group. Because it's not about me. It's not about what I have. It's not all about me. Do I have something to bring to the table? Absolutely, but so do you. And so does everyone on this call, and so does anyone who's going to be attracted to this conversation, because once we can come to a place of gratitude, I read somewhere, and it's I'm trying to remember the author of this quote, and I always get lost when I look for this, and somebody Eckhart, Meister Eckhart or something like that, Meister Eckhart. Anyway, if the only prayer you ever say in your life is thank you, it will be enough. It will be enough. So what do you have to say thank you for? What do you have to be grateful for? And are you willing to step up to this challenge and share part of your story? Paris, Miss Paris, I'm grateful for you, girl. I miss you, little baby. Barbara has a dachshund, and she's just the sweetest little thing. So what do you have to be grateful for? Is it does it have to do with the transformation that you've experienced? Is there something in your life that happened? Like, I'm so grateful for that moment that I looked in the mirror and said, who are you and why are you here? Because it was in that moment that I felt in my heart that transformation was possible, that it was possible for me to rediscover myself and to rewrite my story. So did you have a moment like that? Is that something that you can share in a gift of gratitude? It's one page, 250 words, your information. And then if you want to write more, we can talk about something else down the line. I can tell you something. I've been published in a number of books, a number of anthologies, probably a dozen right now. And I just talked to somebody this morning who I'm going to be writing for another anthology. And there will be more and more purpose, more and more things going on, and more reasons for me to share some of the things that are inside me and some of the things that will inspire others. And your story will inspire others. Your little bit of gratitude will inspire someone else. If not for any other reason, but to find something that they're grateful for in their lives every day. I'm going to also invite you to go to my Facebook page called Grateful Hearts. Every day I've been doing the alphabet. I've been doing gratitude in the alphabet. So today I think we're up to the letter S. I haven't posted it yet, but on my regular page and on Grateful Hearts, you're going to see the posts, 3 things that I'm grateful for, and then make a powerful statement about yourself. So, whatever it is that comes to mind. And I encourage you to use the letters of the day. Here's the reason why. It gets you out of the box of thinking about the things that you're always grateful for. Stretch yourself. Find other things that you're grateful for. And it's a real exercise sometimes, like when you get to the letter Q or the letter X, but you really go deep inside and really find things that you'd be grateful for, and share them. And I encourage you, steal my idea, share it on your page, start the alphabet all over again. So what I ask you to do is 3 things that you're grateful for, make a powerful statement about yourself using the letter of the day, and then really just share it with other people. So Grateful Hearts on Facebook. For information on how to be part of the book, that's upcoming, go to yourstorymattersnow.com. All the information is there, and just click through to the page where you can see it's very inexpensive to be part of this. It's like $115 to submit your story. And here's the great thing about submitting your story for $117, I think it is right now on an early bird special. Here's one thing about submitting your story for a book like this. There are going to be authors from all over the world in this. And I have a talent, and Barbara can vouch for this because she was in a book that I took to a #1 bestseller with the help of the authors that were in that book. And you could come out of this thing with a little ribbon that says that you're a #1 best-selling international author by submitting a story. So I challenge you to step up to the opportunity to share who you are, not just for yourself, but so that I can learn more about you. And so each one of you can learn more about each other, and that the world will be a better place because you decided to share your story. You're an inspiration, every single one of you. You're the reason why I come to this conversation every single week. So I'm grateful for each and every one of you. And I invite you to have a look at that. And if you have any questions whatsoever, just email me. My email address is on that page, teresavelardi@gmail.com. Will get directly to me. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. But I invite you to go ahead and do that. And until the next time we meet together, next week we have Tamara Blankenship is going to join us, and we're going to talk about emotional well-being. And it's all connected to your story. So we're just going to continue this conversation from a different perspective and help to bring some light into places where you may find darkness, and know that it's all good. It's all part of the transformational journey. And until I see you next time, enjoy traveling what I like to call the transformational trails of life. See you